Now, culture and Christianity is just a kind of a broad branding. Creighton, you can throw up the logo. It's a broad branding of just things that are in the news, things that are like popping off in society. We open every Monday with kind of an outlaw radio group Slack thread of like, hey, what's hitting your algorithm? Like, what are the things that are people talking about? And all of us, maybe the exception of any, but like, you've been under a rock if you don't know the name Lindsay Clancy. It has been a court case that has garnered a high profile attention. It has been on the major news networks. It has been polarizing. It has brought to the forefront various ideas, topics, things that culture needs to talk about. I don't know how relevant it is to this particular case, but it has brought to the forefront, to people's mindsets, to the attention, postpartum depression, struggling after birth, raising kids. There has been, like, it has become such a polarizing thing that you are seeing people, men in particular, that have witnessed. Jessica, even today, my wife, brought this to my attention, that there was the big case, like a guy, they're about to get married this weekend, saw that his soon-to-be bride posted in favor of Lindsay, like being sympathetic, and he called off the wedding, broke all the deposits, said, I'm not marrying you because I do not want someone sympathizing with this woman raising my potential children. Like, it is a big, gigantic conversation. In the same way that, like, things we've been talking about recently from the WNBA and Sophie Cunningham, like transgenderism, our culture is wrestling with a lot of big ideas. And they should be, because we have abandoned a moral compass. So it shouldn't be a surprise that it feels like, as a society, we're lost at sea. That as a society, we don't really know what is north, south, east, west. We're spinning because we have abandoned a true north. I want to get into this court case, but I want to say something probably a little controversial, but I don't think it should be. I think the great flaw into America, the great flaw of the melting pot, the flaw of cultural diversity, the flaw of, well, let's just call it relativism, is that I don't think, let me rephrase that. I think it's becoming more and more evident. In fact, I'm going to say this. I want to get you guys' quick reaction to this. This is a thing. I'm going to make a statement. I don't believe that a secular society can be moral. That's a statement.
Yeah, I like to get into arguments. I like to watch apologetics.
I don't want to get into an argument because I got a lot of things to cover. Okay. I just want your snap thought.
I don't know how I could logic my way into feeling compassion for other people. Like, if I'm just an animal on base desires, it is, how do I eat today? Not what is somebody else.
If there is not a moral lawgiver, why should I have any? Like,
why should I care about anybody else other than me?
What's the basis of any moral law? Vinny, we'll work around the table.
Yeah, 100%. No, there's just, you have to have a moral compass. I mean,
and the moral compass has to be determined. It can't be to your own device.
There are people I've encountered in my life that claim to be secular, but they have good morals, ethics, and values. But the more you talk to them, there was an upbringing with a moral compass, and they walked away from it and decided they were secular. But if you encounter somebody out in the wild that's never experienced any kind of church, Bible study, anything, they are very, very extremely self-centered, like, to the point it blows my mind. Like, I can't even talk to you. You're so self-centered, and you care about nobody.
And we even got into this. We touched on it last week in the kind of chosen segment. Like, positions on abortion and homosexuality the nation of Israel as far away from even the Judeo-Christian ethic than the Muslim country of Saudi Arabia is. Saudi Arabia is way more in line with a Judeo-Christian value, even though they're Muslim, than Israel is. Like, again, your fundamental belief system establishes, like, and Israel claims to be a secular country. So they're all over the place when it comes to moral issues. In the same way that we were looking at America and surrogacy, abortion, go down the list, we have the WNBA that can't define what the W in the NBA stands for. And that should not be a surprise to anyone, because when you detether yourself from a moral compass, all bets are off. Spice, your thoughts, and then we're going to move ahead.
I've lived within cultures that don't have that Judeo-Christian compass and upbringing, and it's not a great place to be, because it's not a big deal to kill somebody. They know it's bad to kill somebody, but it's not as big of a deal as it would be where we are, or just stealing something from somebody. Like, it just doesn't, when you lose that moral compass, when you don't have that guidance, like for me, growing up in the West, I think for most Westerners, because regardless of whether you're Christian or not Christian, growing up in a Western society that where almost all of our morals and codes and laws are based on the Bible, whether you want it to be or not, like, when you get away from that, it's not a great place to live in.
So we, like, and I'll even say it's a, and I've wrestled with this, like, the one election in America that had me torn the most was the Romney-Obama election, because you had a Mormon, and basically, even though he claimed to be a Christian, he was a secular moralist, had no compass. And, like, the grand logic that got most evangelicals to vote for a Mormon that we also knew was going to hell as well, is that at least as the Mormon, he had a moral compass that he would abide by that was similar to our own moral compass, versus not having any moral compass at all. This Lindsay Clancy case, it's a fascinating thing. Where I want to go with it, and we're going to get into the details here, but look, the idea is this case has segmented culture into two different kind of camps. And it really feels like black and white in the way that this has worked itself out. And I think that that's kind of the mistake, which is why I want to make this an episode. Because on one end, you have, like, the far extreme, this woman brutally murdered 3 innocent children and should die. Don't care at all what she might have gone through, what led up to it, mitigating circumstances. The result of what happened makes this very black and white. To heck with her. Someone should take her out, put a bullet in her head, or strangle her with the same exercise band that she used to strangle her 3 kids. So on one end, you have, like, this, like, real hard justice group, which also seems to, like, kind of resonate with the right. Frank, glad you made it home. Thank you for the comment. So hard right. The other end of the spectrum is, like, you've gotten this, like, really crazy, weird, like, feminist, leftist women reaction of, like, and again, like, I've seen things where someone's like, if you're fine with killing your kid all the way up until, like, the time of birth, then why should you be outraged if you kill your kids later? Like, if it messes with your life, it's messing with your health, like this real dark, crazy.
If human life doesn't matter, why would human life matter?
To maybe temper the perspective, to be fair, you have an angle of, like, the uber compassionate, sympathetic, Like postpartum depression's a thing. Being a mom's hard. All women kind of deal with these things. What she did is terrible, but like, let's have some compassion. The system failed her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like you really feel like you've had like these really two crazy extremes. At least my algorithm has like, you guys kind of see the same things. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
I've had almost nothing in my algorithm about any of this.
Yes, single ladies again at Spice Daddy 316, X at Spice Daddy 316. So, what I want to try to address is this. Again, we see this divergence. You have like far end compassion for the woman clearly dealing with things. Like nobody does this in their right mind. Compassion, sympathy. Heart. One side. Other side is justice. To hell with how she's feeling. To hell with what she went through. To hell with all this stuff. She brutally murdered her 3 children. And in the process of that, like, I started reading, like there was a nurse that actually wrote a very detailed explanation of what it would, those 18 minutes, it took 18 minutes. She led each of her 3 kids, took them into the basement individually, used an exercise band, strangled them. The 18-month-old technically survived, was on life support, died 3 days later. Like
I didn't know that.
Yes. No, I did a deep dive. Like, and then you no one's heard it, but there's been the testimony, it was played in court, of the 911 call of the father. It's a horrific thing. And there are people that like, I don't care. Like, she should die. Like, as a society, compassion be damned. Justice be maintained. So you have like these really two, what seem to be within our culture, perspectives that run counter to each other. I want to try to like take a biblical perspective of compassion and justice and see if we can land someplace in the middle with this particular topic. Now, before I get to a passage of scripture, the story. This would be a very quick flyby. Lindsay was a nurse. She spent years, got a degree. She was a labor and delivery nurse for years. Marries a man. They get married. They start having children. She, after the 3rd child, starts having really deep psychological issues. Never once was she ever diagnosed with postpartum depression. That came actually afterwards. Nor did she have a unique postpartum psychosis. That came later. But she clearly had some serious issues, depression issues. Diagnosed bipolar 2. And the system, hey, to be fair, the system absolutely, totally failed this woman. Telemedicine, she was seeing different doctors that weren't comparing notes. The number, over the course of several months, the number of different medications that she was prescribed to deal with issues from insomnia to depression to all the things she was going through. Her husband, by the way, allowed her to not go to work. She was able to leave her job. She had a nanny that was taking care of the children. She was given every health opportunity. She was even checked in to various facilities all the way up until like the very month of the incident. That she voluntarily, she knew she was going through things. And she was crying out for help, looking at a medical establishment that is undeniably broke, that was prescribing her all kinds of things. with no consultation, no overlap of how these different medications, how the negative effects working with each other would, like, there is a place where you look at this story and you say, man, this is terrible. Like it is an example of a broken system. However, what she did was undeniably premeditated. Like, she was in her right mind. She sent her husband away to go get food. She systematically took each of the children and strangled them. I'm not going to go into the details. You can read about what that would have been like. She did it. She claims that there were voices telling her to do it. One of the main the experts the prosecution put forward, who spent 3 days with her, said that she was in her right mind. She claims that there were voices in her head telling her to do this. He attributes it to a certain measure of psychosis, which is like this abandonment thing. Like, these kids will be better off. She even like says, like, you'll be with your siblings with God. Because she knew she was going to kill herself, or attempt to kill herself. So she was trying to spare her children that trauma. So she sends her husband away. She kills her 3 children brutally. And then she hangs herself out of the 2nd-story window, throws herself out of the house to land on her head and her neck. It's at this point her husband shows up, finds her in the yard. She's not dead. And she's in a wheelchair because she's paralyzed from the waist down. She didn't kill herself. She just really injured herself. He calls 911's on the phone. And then he goes inside to check on the kids because he doesn't know what's happening, only to find that he finds the scene. And there's 911. There's audio. I can't imagine. Like, just brutal. Again, can we be compassionate with all the things that were going on in Lindsay's life that led to this? I think we can be compassionate. The system failed her. We should be very careful on brain chemistry and things that we're doing. She had multiple doctors that didn't consult with each other. She was getting thrown every medicine in the book, and that has an effect. Is there a demonic element? I think the voice in her head, sure, absolutely. She was wanting to kill herself. That's a dark place. Everything. Can we be compassionate? Absolutely. But does compassion negate justice? And that's where I would say absolutely not. I think we've gotten culturally, because we've detached ourselves from God, and we've detached ourselves from the explanation of human nature, we've left ourselves in this very limbo situation. The Bible says that God created us perfect. It's sin, rebellion that introduced sin. People are born with a fallen nature. That is the explanation. Our rebellion against God is the explanation for our sin nature. Contrary to Darwinian or Freudian explanation of the human condition, we were not born perfect, and we have been corrupted by environment, culture, extraneous like influences. I butchered that word. It doesn't matter.
Extraneous.
Thank you. We're born broken. We're not corrupted. We need to be redeemed. Because we've adopted Darwinian evolution, Freudian thoughts of human nature, we excuse bad character, bad behavior, because originally we were good. And the bad things have an explanation that's outside of ourselves. So we see a woman do a horrific thing, and compassion tries to explain why she did those things. Those things are the result. She's a victim. These things happen to her, thus she does these things, so she should be excused, or we should at least temper the judgment because she had no control. That is not a biblical position in any context. That is the secular world that has divorced itself from God, trying to explain bad things. That makes sense? Did I explain that well?
Yes.
So we look at compassion. How do we judge her, condemn her, punish her for her acting out things that she's a victim of? There's logic to that. There is logic to that. It explains this reaction. But that is not a biblical perspective. So we get to Exodus. God gives the law to the children of Israel. His standard of human behavior, human society, how things should operate and should be adjudicated when it's not being operated in the way that he's mandated. The crazy thing, God gave the law, Moses comes down from Sinai, and right from the jump, the children of Israel, who have been led out of Egypt miraculously, 10 plagues, parting of the Red Sea, pillar of fire at night, cloud by day. Moses goes up on Sinai, and they make themselves their own God and begin to sacrifice, worship, praise the golden calf. And Moses descends, he sees this happening, and he throws down the 2 tablets, and they break. Like God should have wiped them out. Like right then. Like God's even tempted to. And Moses kind of advocates to God's grace and mercy. You get to Exodus 34, in like the heading, the heading added by the translators is Moses makes new tablets. Terrible, terrible heading, because Moses makes no tablets at all. Should be titled God makes new tablets, reiterating the first tablets, and it's all God's grace. So they have God's given his law, they've failed, they deserve to be destroyed. They are offering to a pagan made up idol. Like Aaron is complicit in all this. He becomes the high priest. Like it is an amazing thing. It's amazing because of the reaction of God. Verse 6, and the Lord passed before Moses and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abounding in goodness and truth. What? Amazing. Keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. Now, all that is the wonderful manifestation of the character of God. If not for that aspect, Israel would have been destroyed then, and God would have started over. So right from I'm long-suffering, I'm gracious, I'm merciful, I'm a God of second chances. That's good news. But then he continues, and this is like the contrast. By no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and the 4th generation. So Moses made haste, bowed his head towards the earth, and worshipped. Then he said, if now I have found grace in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray, go among us, even though we are a stiff-necked people, pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. There is this dual nature to God. There is grace, there's mercy, there's compassion. But there is also justice, like within this revelation. But by no means will I excuse the iniquity. That group of people would wander the wilderness and die out and be judged by God. His mercy, his grace endures, but his justice must be maintained. There's a balance to compassion and justice. In fact, the two can coexist, for they coexist within God. You can be completely compassionate for Lindsay and heartbreak for what would drive this woman to brutally murder her 3 kids, ruin her life to the point she throws herself out of a second-story window. That's sin. That's brutal. That's demonic. That should move a person's heart. Like, that's rough. But does that, like, can I be compassionate, but then also demand justice? Can I be compassionate for the person that committed the crime and what led that person to commit such a crime, but at the same time, the other side of the coin, can I demand there be justice for the 3 little kids that did nothing wrong, that were strangled to death by their mother? Can you imagine the disbelief, the loss, what's going on? Can there be justice for the husband that loved his wife, saw that she was hurting, saw that she was suffering, did everything in his power that he could to try to help her, but whose life was also completely ruined and destroyed because his 3 equal kids were murdered by her? His marriage destroyed? He divorced her after this, not during it. Can we have compassion for Lindsay, but at the same time, equally, an equal passion, demand justice for the 3 innocent lives and the husbands whose life was destroyed? Absolutely. In fact, the law was very particular about how that worked. It was all about restoration, making restitution. It was all about protecting the victim over the sensibility of the perpetrator, to the fact that if you rob from someone, you either had to repay in full and then some of what you stole, or you had to be a slave to that person to make good on it. It was all about restoring the victim from what was lost. And if what was taken from the victim could not be restored, then it was death. You rape someone, you can't ever give that back, meaning you were taken out and stoned to death. If you molested a child, you cannot restore that innocence. There's no what do you do when there's no restoration? No restitution. You're taken out and you're stoned to death. If you murder someone, you're taken out and you're murdered, because you can't restore the life. The law, God's perfect law, was all about the victim first. There can be compassion. Yes, there should be compassion. But it's about the victim. It's about compassion for the victim. And society can only function that way if we abandon that. And we are seeing a society that has abandoned that. When you abandon protecting, preserving, being compassionate first for the victim, there can be compassion for everyone. Jesus would emulate that. I think you can be compassionate to Lindsay and still put her in an electric chair, because you also have to be compassionate to the lives that were lost and destroyed, and a society saying, man, my heart hurts for everything that Lindsay went through. But it is now not discompassionate to say that there isn't a consequence. That's not discompassionate. That's compassion for the voices that were silenced from an exercise band. It is not one side or the other. The Bible blends the two together. And you can never get to that point if you don't believe that there is a God who is gracious and merciful, but who is also just. The only reason that me, a sinner, have received the grace and forgiveness of God and therefore eternal life, it's not compassion without justice. I'm forgiven and cleansed and receiving God's grace and have a future because Jesus took my judgment upon himself when he died on a cross. There is no justice without compassion. There is no compassion without justice. Our society has moved away from God, and as a result, we are having a hard time reconciling these two ideas. So that is my culture in Christianity. You guys' thoughts before we tap out?
I think that as a Christian, the compassion starts at praying for Lindsay that she accepts Jesus. And we see that.
Yeah.
We see that.
Yeah,
I just
amen
quick
to that.
Google, and we see this with some major serial killers. I Googled a few of them. A couple of them I knew, a couple of them I didn't. You have David Berkowitz, son of Sam. Converted. He stopped seeking parole because he's like, I did what I did. And the compassion comes in when he was like, I did what I did. I deserve the justice for my victims.
Yeah.
But Jesus saved me. You have Jeffrey Dahmer.
Which we talked about
We talked about before.
in the pre-outlaw show.
Chris Watts, Carla Faye Tucker, Ted Bundy. All of these guys deserve justice. They converted in Christianity after they had been caught, but they all knew that they deserved that justice, but they had been forgiven.
Society has to function within that.
Right. And I think that's where we and that's where we can't confuse. Don't expect a non-moral, non-Christian people to function in a Christian and Christian moral way. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying?
And that was the point of the episode, is like what we're seeing happen in this algorithm,
Right.
where we have two extreme positions, is the evidence. Like, this is what results. Like,
Right.
I saw someone said, so there was that lady that defended her kid, got prosecuted for, I forget the whole case, but like there was a GoFundMe, made like $90,000, and like she was defending her living child, used some choice language, whatever. But this chick, Lindsay, there's a GoFundMe that's over $1 million to her legal defense. Like, you look at this and you're like, what is happening within our society? I'm trying to explain why this is happening. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think where I stand is that lady deserves death. That justice needs to be mitigated. But she also deserves that life that Jesus died for her on the cross.
Okay, let me parse that. She doesn't deserve that life. She deserves eternal damnation. It is the fact
Right.
that I'm not Jesus.
Yeah, yes.
And you're not Jesus.
Right.
And that's the mystery of Jesus.
That I guess
That is the nature
right.
of grace.
Yes.
Right. That I guess that's where I'm at. Like, she doesn't deserve.
If I was God, she goes to hell.
Right.
But on those standards, I probably do too.
Right.
So I'm glad I'm not God.
Right.
Dear Daddy, your thoughts as we wrap this up.
Yeah, same. I hope we see her kids, her husband, all of them in heaven one day. But for $1.25, we could stop this whole thing from getting dragged out unnecessarily.
I'm pretty sure that we could like
I could do it for less than that.
donate the bullet.
I have to pay normal prices for ammo, Justin.
Yes.
22 is only like 30 cents a bullet or something.
Pope C, finish out the thought, then roll us through our line here.
I
was thinking 45 cents.
between the Lindsay Clancy thing and the baby Gabriel thing, these are both things I think happen more in our country than people realize. And I think we're going to see this kind of disregard for human life escalate over the next I don't know, year to 1,000 years until Jesus returns. Buckle up. I think we're going to see this more. And pray that Jesus returns. Pray that he shows mercy on us all. And
Or pray for revival.
or pray for
Because
revival.
we're 1,000 years away from the rapture of the church, and we'll never live to see it. And there's a revival in our day, and our country returns back to biblical principle, and we see thousands upon millions of people come to Christ, and we don't even think about the rapture or the end times because, hey, Jesus is moving in our day, and we're a part of that, and that can happen too.
Or pray for revival because we're a year from the return of Christ and we need the revival right now. Both of those are either one.
Dude,
pray for revival.
You have a
Pray for grace.
You have a girlfriend now.
I am going to
You
be
need
pessimistic until the day I die.
You
or
need
Jesus
some
returns.
time.
Hey, subscribe to the Outlaw Radio podcast. That's what we're doing here. We're recording a podcast. This live stream is going to go up right now. We will post the segments this week. We will post the podcast in its entirety tomorrow on Apple and Spotify. Again, if you like to listen to your podcast somewhere else and you're not seeing us, send us an email at popecreighton@gmail.com so we can put it up there. Vincent.
Guys, if you don't have a church, you need a church. Plug in. If you can't find a local church, join our church live, Calvary 316. Check out the website. We're streaming on multiple different social media applications, or come join us in church at Calvary 316, just outside of Winder, Georgia.
Our live stream works so much better, and Justin doesn't kick the power cord out of the wall.
My bad.
What happened?
Anyway,
Jessica Holcomb, we got a smiley face.
Hey, that's my Jess.
Hit the thumbs up button. Frank,
Thank
what
you,
is...
Frank.
There you go.
anyways,
Was that him hitting the thumbs up button? He didn't realize there's an actual thumbs up button?
No, I think that he is just telling the people in the chat to hit the thumbs
hey,
up button.
okay, yeah.
Because Frank's a team player.
Yes. He's also really big into VR.
he is now.
We can post some pictures, Frank,
And a video.
and some video.
Anyway, now, if you want to get into the drama of justice and injustice,
Boom.
you should read the Destiny's Edge series, written by our friend Lee Steven, not Stevens.
Steven,
Oh,
very
it's
good.
Lee Stevens' books.
Yeah. Anyway, you can follow him on X, Destiny's Edge Official, Lee Steven, or Epic Universe at Epic Universe, Facebook. He has all of those great books. By the way, he has a great card game that Creighton refuses to play me again because he lost.
We have not had a chance.
He even got dunked on by one of the Lee Stevens characters on
You know
there.
what's fun? I
On
bet.
X.
Did you watch the new Ask Esther series that started on YouTube?
I watched it before he
Because
put it
your
on
boy
YouTube.
did.
I
It
watched
just
it
started. It just dropped.
He
Check
showed it.
out the Ask
showed it to
Esther
us
Creighton, don't
before
pretend
it
like
went
you're a fan. You're not.
I
You're
absolutely
not.
am. I watched
not.
the
How many books
entire
have you read?
video. 1.5.
It's
I've watched the
ridiculous.
How many
entire
books have you
Ask-
read, Zach?
All of them.
Oh yeah, you know who's very good at commenting on? Hey, when are we getting the 7th book?
Frank, by the way, Frank fixed the wall plug. So.
Yes, he
Oh,
did.
yeah,
He
he
said
did.
it earlier. Oh, I just saw his comment. Thank you, Frank.
Anyway.
Also, thank you, Lee. Your books are great.
Go check out Lee's books,
Yeah.
Destiny's Edge series, great for teenagers, adults. Please get into it so you can read them all. You'll probably get there before Creighton does.
You will, 100%.
And you'll be able to join me and Zach in our banter with them on it.
Absolutely, 100%. And we get nothing from Lee. Like, this is...
Yeah, nothing is a strong word. I have a full playable version of a trading card game.
except
so we
God,
probably get nothing
except God
from him.
testing our patience.
He also gave me some boudin.
I got some boudin too.
What in the world is boudin?
No, he gave me the boudin that was for you, and I've done red beans and rice with it, and
is
you're not
boudin?
getting any of it. Hey, hit the music. Hit the music.
Oh.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight with the Outlaw Radio Show. So glad you're with us. If you are watching, check out the podcast. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasting. The audio of tonight's episode gets podcasted in the morning. If you are only listening to the show, that's awesome. That's great. Like it, subscribe, leave us a comment. That's wonderful. But If you're wanting to see us, connect with us, join the show in a practical way. Again, 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights, we go live on YouTube, outlawradio.live. We also go live on facebook.com/The Radio Outlaw, as well as my X account, Zach Adams. Again, thanks so much for joining us tonight. The Outlaw Radio Show. We'll see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. God bless.